Thanks for joining me on episode 368 of the Inspired Stewardship Podcast.
Hey, I'm Matt Ham, author of Redefine Rich, and I challenge you to live richly by listening to the Inspired Stewardship Podcast with my friend, Scott Mader.
And listen to those who you want to serve so that you can figure out how to serve them better, where you are networking with people that might be able to send you clients and whom you can send clients. When you're networking and connecting with people in a way that educates you and helps you grow and also allows you to spend time growing other people.
Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. If you truly desire to become the person who God wants you to be, then you must learn to use your time, your talent, and your treasures for your true calling. In the Inspired Stewardship Podcast, you will learn to invest in yourself, invest in others, and develop your influence so that you can impact the world.
In today's episode about developing your influence by stewarding your time, I talk with you about networking versus working. I share how networking can be work or an escape from it, and how to know if networking is time well spent.
As we talk about stewarding your time, wouldn't it be great if you could support this podcast and do it without just taking too long? Turns out you can't. All you have to do is use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon when you're ready to make a purchase via Amazon, and a small commission will come back to support the show just that quick. If you enjoy the show when you are ready to buy from Amazon, just use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon.
One area where people often spend a lot of time is in this area of networking. Growing your network, connecting to other people, whether it's clients, whether it's referral partners, whether it's people that might be able to bring business your way, whether it's people that have knowledge that you want to be able to avail yourselves of in your sense of growing, whether it is somebody who can help you develop your influence and spread your message. We often spend a lot of our time trying to meet other people, to pick their brain, to understand what they can do for us, to make connections and build relationships. And I talk a lot on this podcast about the power of building relationships and how our business, our life is really organized around relationship much more than transaction. At least if we want to have a successful one, it should be. So at first glance, it would sound like I'm always in favor of networking. But the truth is that there are times that networking ends up being an excuse to keep you from working, to keep you from actually building your business, from keep you from being able to develop yourself, to keep you out of actually building your influence and into this sort of mysterious sense of, well, if I just get enough connections, then magically everything will fall into place. And like so many things, this is a bit of a both and. You need to build connection. You need to build relationship. You need to connect with people who are before you in the journey. You need to connect with people who are behind you in the journey. You need to connect with people who can possibly build your influence and be your clients, but you also need to connect with people who you can build up, who you can influence and serve and add value to in other ways. So it is certainly important to network. But if the networking is keeping you from putting your head down and doing the hard work, from producing content, from developing your message, from actually being able to find out and figure out what it is that you should be doing so that you can live out your calling and spread your message and develop your influence and do all of the things that God has called you to do, then networking turns into an excuse that keeps you from actually doing the hard work, from actually putting your head down and creating, from actually making things happen. So networking can be a form of work where you are trying to build connections in a very strategic way, where you are trying to find out how and listen to those who you want to serve so that you can figure out how to serve them better, where you are networking with people that might be able to send you clients and whom you can send clients, when you're networking and connecting with people in a way that educates you and helps you grow and also allows you to spend time growing other people, then networking is a good thing. But if you're using networking as an excuse, something to keep you from having to do the work that perhaps you're scared or intimidated or a little bit afraid of doing, then networking is just an escape from work and something that you need to control and do less of. See, the truth is, going to conferences is all well and good, but at the end of the day, going to conferences is only going to take you so far in developing your influence. If you're not speaking at the conference, if you're not producing something and doing a workshop or something else, you can make connections at the conference, but you really can't completely build your influence. The same thing goes for other forms of networking. If you're part of a B&I group, but you do it in a way where you simply sit back and just sort of attend the meetings and participate, but not really in a firm way and not with any sort of strategy in mind, then at the end of the day, you're not networking for a purpose. You're networking to escape. You're networking to spend a little bit of time away from the office, a little bit of time out of your home, a little bit of time with your head up connecting to other adults. That's not really going to develop your influence. That's not really going to be a good way to spend your time. So how do you know the difference? How do you know if you're networking effectively or if your networking is time well spent? The honest truth is, the way you do that is by first identifying what is it that you're wanting to get out of the networking. Is this going to be networking because you think there's potential clients here? Is this going to be networking because you think there's potential referral partners who can send you business here? If this is going to be networking so that you can connect with people who can grow you and grow your influence directly, in that they can connect to you and they are people that you need to learn from and grow with and walk with, what way and what do you want out of the networking? And then the second part of that is, what can you put into the networking? What can you actually say and do to help grow the people who you're networking with? So it's not just about what you want, it's also about how you can serve the people that you're networking. And when you identify that there's 3 or 4 or 5 specific things that you can get out of the networking opportunity, then it's a simple matter of looking to see if those things happen. If those things begin to happen over time, then the networking is effective. The networking is doing what you want it to do. And if those things don't happen over time, then you need to figure out why. Is it because this is the wrong group that you're networking with? Is it because you haven't learned good networking skills? You haven't learned how to have the conversations and make the connections that you need to do with networking? Is it something that you need to grow in or something that you need to change the groups? You know, if you are the smartest person in the room all the time, then you might want to think about changing rooms because you're probably in the wrong room. And that's the truth. And that goes for networking as well. If you're not able to grow and get things back out of the networking as you're putting time and effort into it, then it's not an effective use of your time, and you need to find something new to do with your time instead of wasting it networking at that time. So I challenge you, if you're one of these people that loves to spend a lot of time networking to grow your influence, identify what it is you want out of that networking and make sure that you're really getting it. And in that way, you can keep yourself networking as a form of work rather than networking to avoid your work.
Thanks so much for listening to the Inspired Stewardship podcast. As a subscriber and listener, we challenge you to not just sit back and passively listen, but act on what you've heard and find a way to live your calling. If you like this episode on the stewardship of time, be sure to sign up for our Stewardship of Time Tips series by going to inspiredstewardship.com/time or texting 44222 Time Tips, and that'll get you our best tips on stewarding your time. Until next time, invest your time, your talent, and your treasures. Develop your influence and impact the world.